Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome to Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate everybody being in here. It is in the thick of basketball season. The reason that I know, it is freezing cold in Dallas, Texas. I know it's freezing cold pretty much everywhere in the country, but when it's this cold in the 20s here in Dallas, Texas, man, you know it is basketball season. So appreciate everybody being here. We're going to break down the Big 12 power rankings. Our first power rankings for basketball of the season. Interesting stuff going on within the Big 12. We'll get to that. So I appreciate everybody being in here. As always, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comments, and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So I appreciate everybody being in here. As always, look, the Big 12, man, we talked about parody, and we talked about it with football, saying that parody was going to be the way that the Big 12 can take a step forward, that they didn't have a blue blood, so they needed parody to be their mantra, something to stand on. Basketball's different. Basketball's got some blue bloods. They've got some headliners. And while parity is always good, in my opinion, having a lot of really good teams is always good. The difference is that you still need some lead dogs in this league. You can have parity, in the middle of the pack, but you need some lead dogs in this league if you want to be considered the best conference in the country, which right now I'm not sure that you can say that about the Big 12. Still a ton of basketball left, but as we sit right now, I don't know that you can say that. The league, look, we've got a lot of teams out there that, have one, or I shouldn't say one loss. There's a few that've got one loss, a couple with two, and then everybody's got three or more losses in this conference. So it's really weird. And again, that can go to speak that there's a lot of really good basketball teams in this conference, which I'll agree with, but we still need some lead dogs in this conference. I think that'll play itself out as we go along. So don't be alarmed by maybe what I'm saying or saying, Big B, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. As of it sits right now, we can't talk about the future because we don't know what the future is going to hold. As it sits now, we'll see. We'll see. And Houston's undefeated in the league. I'm not sure that they've really been tested that much yet. We'll see moving forward. We'll see. So let's get to these power rankings, man. At number 16, look, 16 and 15 probably could have been interchangeable. Kansas State, I have at 16, Colorado at 15. Now, some may say, well, Kansas State's got to win in the league. They do. But tell me the good win Kansas State has. Just name it. If you want to try to say Cincinnati, okay, Colorado trumps you and says UConn. Now, I know that was, a neutral site game that they won. Maybe it was a controversial call. I don't know, whatever. But they won the basketball game. Kansas State beat Cincinnati at home. Cincinnati struggled getting out of the gate. Kansas State's lost 5 in a row. The problem with Kansas State is not hard to figure out. Kansas State bought a collection of players, and that's the difference. They bought players. They didn't buy a team. There's a lot of Kansas State fans out there mad right now saying, well, you can't buy players. It doesn't work. That couldn't be further from the truth. Everybody's buying players. But the difference is the good teams are buying teams, not just players. They are actually building a team as they're paying these guys. Kansas State didn't do that. They just went out and bought a collection of guys and said, well, we'll try to put it together. Well, they can't put it together, and this is the result. Literally, when they missed. It's easy to say they just missed. Like I talked about in the transfer portal with quarterbacks with some teams in this conference. Cincinnati hit on their quarterback, had a much better season than a lot of people thought they would. UCF missed on their quarterback. Season was an absolute nightmare compared to what a lot of people thought that it was going to be. Kansas State is having that same nightmare right now. I'm not sure how much better it gets. Colorado's, when you lose the kind of firepower that Colorado lost to the NBA draft plus transfers, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. They have a really good coach. I like Tad Boyle, but we'll find out what they're made of over the next coming weeks, but Colorado will be better next year. Let's just say that. I'm not saying their season's over or anything like that, but they will be a better basketball team next year. And number 15, Oklahoma State, 2-5 in league play. I don't know. Oklahoma State kind of is what it is right now. Rebuilding, doing it the right way. It's going to be a struggle for them for the remainder of this season. They've gotten a couple of wins here as of late, but they fight. They fight. They're not the most talented team out there, but they fight, which is the sign of good coaching. And that's something they need. They needed a breath of fresh air, and they're starting to get that. Oklahoma State's a proud program. They'll be back. It's just going to take some time. In this league, man, it's tough to rebuild. That's the thing. It's tough to rebuild in this league. Oklahoma State finding that out. Number 13, Arizona State. Now, here's the thing. Arizona State lost 4-5. Big win, though, last night against West Virginia. Out of nowhere, it would seem. On the road. Arizona State with a big win. My thing is, now, again, there's a ton of basketball left. But, again, we're talking about power rankings right now. I think Arizona State is one of the disappointments in the league. I thought they would be better. Now, I know there's a ton of people out there that are saying, come on, Big B, Bobby Hurley, not that good of a coach. And I know there's a lot of Arizona State fans that are saying the same thing, man. It's like, look, we've given this guy the money. He's supposed to have gotten the players. Where's the results? I don't disagree. I don't disagree. They got time to turn it around, but Arizona State should have what they need to be better. I'll just be honest. I'm not sold on Bobby Hurley. And I know a lot of you Arizona State fans out there are not sold on Bobby Hurley. I've heard it. You've told me. You've gotten the comments and said it. You've messaged me privately and said it. Not real happy with Bobby Hurley. And quite frankly, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. A lot of bang or not enough bang for the buck. We'll see what happens. Maybe they can get this thing turned around because, like I said, Arizona State should be better. They should be better. UCF at number 11. Or I take that back. We started at number 12. We got Cincinnati. Here's the thing about Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati was going to be really good this year. I really did. And, yeah, they've got time to turn it around, but I don't know, man. They started out of the gate. They lost 4 in a row. Then they win 2 in a row. And then they lose one. Now, they lost to Tech, and Tech is really, really good. But I'm just not sure about this Cincinnati team, man. And look, Bearcat fans were furious at me at the beginning of football season because I picked them last in the conference. Well, I didn't pick them last in the conference this year in basketball. I thought they were going to be really good, and now they're letting me down. They got to get this thing going in the right direction. They've lost some home games. They're losing to teams that they are better than. Like they lost to Kansas State. They're better than Kansas State. That's not a game you should lose. They got to get this figured out and figured out quickly. Like I said, I thought that maybe they had done that, and maybe they have. That's the thing. You talk about trends in sports. They win 2 in a row. Then they got to play a really good basketball team. Look, Tech is better than Cincinnati. So to say that, oh, well, they had it turned around and then they lost, well, they lost to a really good team, man. So they still might have it turned around. They just ran into a buzzsaw. So we'll see about Cincinnati. We'll see. Hopefully I'm not wrong about Cincinnati. I think the Bearcats are going to have a better season. They just got off on the wrong foot. And they're playing catch-up, but I think they can get there. Spoiler, I said UCF at number 11. We've seen UCF battle. We've seen them battle. They lost 3 and 4. Look, they had Houston on the ropes. They had Houston on the absolute ropes and was about ready to throw the knockout punch. And then Houston slipped away, hit them with something that they didn't see, and ended up winning that basketball game. It's just, ugly, but it's Houston. That team finds a way to win, man. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile, and they'll forcefully take a mile. I mean, you saw the play at the end of the game. I mean, not a lot of teams are running that kind of out-of-bounds play with 3 seconds left to get a layup like that. That's just Houston, man. They're just a physical. But I like UCF. I like where they're going. I like their coach. But again, it's tough in this league, man. It's tough. But they're learning. And number 10, I got BYU. Look, I think BYU, they've lost some tough games. they've lost some tough games. That one that to Utah, I don't want to say they let it get away. Utah just beat them. Utah just beat them. I mean, that was about as good of an environment of college basketball that I've seen this year. Granted, it's two rivals. They can't stand each other, but you know how I feel. I love hostility. But that was a really good basketball game. Crazy environment. But Utah's fighting. Or, excuse me, BYU's fighting. I thought they'd be a little bit better, though. I will mention that. I thought they would be better. But I think a lot of BYU fans are saying, look, we need to get good this year, and then next year is our year. That's fine to think that way, but I don't think BYU should give up on this year. They got some talent on that basketball team, man. They really do. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. We'll see. At number 9, TCU. Again, kind of a middle-of-the-road team. If TCU could score better, then TCU would be in the upper echelon of this league. But you could say that about a lot of people, So we'll see. I think TCU is going to be mired at this range all year long. Win 2, lose 1, win 1, lose 2. I think they're going to be right in the middle of the pack, fighting for an NCAA berth at the end of this. Right now, I'm not sure how many Big 12 teams will get in. I mean, you can look at bracketology and all of this stuff. Just use your eyes for right now. Just use your eyes. It's too early to be trying to look at bracketology. There's too many games left to be played. Just use your eyes and base it on what you see, not only in this conference, but around the country. Is TCU one of the top 64? Just ask yourself that question right now. And if you, better yet, say, are they one of the 34 at large teams? To take it that far, are they one of the 34 best? I think they got some work to do to get there, but it doesn't mean that they can't. Does not mean that they can't. At 8, Utah. Look, Utah won some tough games over the two teams that are I have ranked right below them. So, and again, I wasn't sure how good Utah would be. I think they're out kicking their coverage right here, and good for them. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe, I anticipated them being worse, and I was wrong. You know me. I have no problems being wrong. But I know they've won 3 straight, playing some good basketball right now. They're going to start getting tested. That's what this league does. But as long as they keep battling, if you hang around in games, just like they did against BYU, if you make a shot, you go win some games, man. It's the way this thing works. So, and they're giving themselves an opportunity. Again, giving themselves an opportunity. I think they'll be mired right where those 3 teams, BYU, TCU, and Utah, are probably going to be attached at the hip all season. Unless, obviously, if injuries happen or one team just falls off a cliff, I feel like they're going to be attached at the hip all season long. Now, at number 7, this is where it gets a little tricky for me. I've got Baylor. And a lot of people might disagree that Baylor being this low. I'll be honest. I'll tell you about Baylor. A lot of people thought Baylor was going to be really good. I was one of those people. I think Baylor is on the verge of being one of those teams that don't make the NCAA tournament. Now, they've got some injuries. Well, first off, they have the talent. They got the coach. But for some reason, it's just not coming together. Now, you could say some of their early losses, I mean, they lost to really good basketball teams, man. It's not like they lost to some bums early on. But it just doesn't seem to be coming together right now. Now, they got an opportunity tonight, a get-right game against K-State. And if they do that, okay, we'll move forward with Baylor. But, there's always a team every year in every conference that you think is going to be good and doesn't make the tournament. Baylor might be that team. I hope not. Because, again, that would be a black eye on this conference. And we don't need any black eyes in this conference. We need as many good, competent teams moving forward in this conference as possible because of the kind of the stain of the NCAA tournament last year that the Big 12 had. We don't need that this year. And so we need to get as many people in playing good ball. So Baylor's got to get it turned around. And number 6, West Virginia. West Virginia has been hit by the injury bug. West Virginia had the typical, you know what, we upset one of the best teams in the country on Saturday. We come back on Tuesday and we fall flat on our face at home against Arizona State. That's, you see it a million times. Classic letdown game. And they lost. And it's a crusher. I shouldn't say it's a crusher as far as the season, but this is, again, when you're trying to compete for a league, that's a win. You mark on the schedule. Everybody's got to play the game. We all understand that. But that's a game that West Virginia at home should have won. Now, you could say maybe Arizona State is starting to figure some stuff out. Okay, I'll go with that because we know Arizona State has the talent, but West Virginia, that's a game they got to win. Can't have letdown games like that after the master class of defense that they put on Saturday, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, Iowa State missed damn near every three that they took. But that's a game that West Virginia's got to win. But here's what I will say about the Mountaineers. Keep your eye on them. As they start to get healthy, keep your eye on them over the next couple of weeks. I think West Virginia's got a chance. I don't know if they're going to win the league, but I think West Virginia's got a chance. One of those teams that you see in the tournament that nobody sees coming. They're like a 6, anywhere between a 6 and a 10 seed, and they end up in the Sweet 16. Watch out for West Virginia if they can get all the way healthy. If they can, that's a team I really like. I like how they play. I like them. Arizona at number 5. Quietly, Arizona is starting to get it together. Now, there's going to be some people out there that, again, are going to tell me, B, they're 6-1 in the league. But I just can't forget everything that I've seen out of Arizona all year long. But, I'm going to put more emphasis on what teams are doing right now. Having said all of that, I like where Arizona's going. They're quietly getting this thing back together after some tough losses in the non-con. Because, yeah, they definitely struggled early. But, it's weird because they played West Virginia in the non-con, lost, and then they go to West Virginia in the conference, and they win and whip them, I might add. So, Arizona, I think, is starting to get back. I think they're going to be there at the end of this thing. I think Arizona is going to end up being there at the end of this thing. I know they lost to Tech at Tech, but, how many times do I have to say it? Tech is really good. Tech is really good. And I haven't mentioned them yet, and we're going up from 16 up to 1, and I haven't mentioned Tech yet. Tech's good. So, and that was a tough game. I know they lost by 16, and if you look at the final score, people think they got whipped. It was a 3-point game with 5 minutes to go, and Arizona literally couldn't get another point. Just couldn't buy a basket of any kind. But that is a testament to Tech. But Arizona, I believe, like I said, kind of quietly getting things figured out. Number 4, I have KU. And I am still not sure how good KU is. I'm really not. I know they've got some veteran leadership, but this again, and I think KU fans will attest to this, this is not the typical Bill Self Kansas team. They've got some major holes. They don't shoot it well from deep. They've got playmaking, but the playmaking doesn't shoot the ball very well, and teams have started to figure that out. And some of the games that they've lost is like Juan Harris, like they don't even guard him. And if that's going to be the case, and then you put Hunter Dickinson in a pick and roll, and he can't guard anybody. So it's tough. It's tough. I still haven't gotten a gauge. It's still KU, and I still trust Bill Self. But I've talked to several KU fans, and they all say the same thing. And they didn't take their lead from me, but I threw this out there, and they agreed. They are like, absolutely. I think KU is better with the freshman Badunga in the starting lineup over KJ Adams. Or if you don't want to do that because Adams is a senior, that you got to cut his minutes down when he gets healthy, by the way. You got to cut his minutes down. You got to get Badunga more on the court. You got to get him more minutes on the court with him and Dickerson out there. Because, number one, he's a better defender. He's a rim protector. And I'll just throw it out there like this. And I know it's college basketball, but Badunga is going to be a first-round draft pick, if not a lottery pick. And I know I've said this on podcasts, on shows before. That's going to happen. Adams, God bless him, is not playing in the NBA. So Bill Self is usually really good about playing as NBA guys, but he's also loyal. That's what I said. I trust Bill Self to do it, but we'll see. We'll see. Adams got to get healthy first, which I think he'll be back here in a couple of games, if not sooner. But that. If they make that change and start getting Badunga more minutes on the court with Dickerson and shortening the minutes of Adams, I think KU is better. I know that doesn't necessarily solve their shooting issues, but it solves some of their defensive deficiency issues. Plus, Badunga can get out on the break. I mean, he's just a better player, in my opinion. He's just a better player. So we'll see what KU has moving forward. And number 3, I got Texas Tech. They can score. Last few games, they've shown that they can also defend. They've got a couple of tough losses, but Texas Tech is good. I think Texas Tech is on a mission. I really do, because I think Texas Tech is embarrassed by the way that their season ended last year. That's what I believe. I believe they're embarrassed on how it ended, and they're like, hold on a second, man. We are better than this. And I think they're out to prove it. And good for them, because right now they're playing like it. They're playing like a team possessed. And that was a tough game that they played in Ames down to the absolute wire. I think Texas Tech is really, really good, and they're going to be something that's going to have to be dealt with. I mean, they've been battle tested early in the Big 12 season, so they're going to have to be somebody that's going to have to be dealt with. They're going to be there at the end. They are going to be there at the end of this thing. I really like this Tech basketball team, man. They're physical, they're tough, and they score. That's something that you haven't always been able to say about every Tech team, but this one is scoring. I like them. I really like them. At number 2, I've got Houston. I know they're undefeated in the league. That means something, but I don't know. I don't know how tested they have been. They're going to be. And that was a tough game. Look, winning on the road in this conference, I don't care who you play. It's tough to win on the road. And they played a tough game on Saturday against UCF, and they needed every second, literally, to win that basketball game. They needed every second, but they did, and that's what good teams do. When you're not at your best, and they did not shoot, they didn't play at their best. They couldn't make hardly anything, but they were able to find a way to win anyway, even when you don't play well and shoot it well. That's something that good teams do. I really like Houston, man. And like I said, Houston was a Final Four team last year if Shed doesn't get hurt. We know that. They beat Duke. They are Final Four team if that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it did, and maybe they're out to prove something this year. But, with the toughness, rebounding, they can shoot. I know they didn't shoot well on Saturday, but for the most part, they can shoot. They had a guy that was at one point leading the nation in three-point shooting. I like this Houston team, man. I really like this Houston team. But at number 1, I've got Iowa State. Look, yes, I get it. They shot the ball miserably at West Virginia on Saturday. 6% shooting. Come on, from 3. That's despicable at best. But that happens. And look, West Virginia is a good team, especially playing at home. You shoot 6%, you make 1 3, you shoot like that. Usually a team gets blown out. Well, Iowa State didn't get blown out. You shoot like that, so you're losing by 15 points. It's a cakewalk. Well, that's not what happened. So Iowa State, look, and they came back and avenged it and said, okay, we got another game to play, and they came out and blew the doors off on Tuesday. So UCF was walking into something. That was ugly. But I like Iowa State, man. I like Iowa State. One of the better teams in the country, literally. In not K-State, but the Big 12 has several teams that are some of the best teams in the country. When you talk, let's just talk top 15. Iowa State, Houston, and you could probably throw Tech in there as well. You can throw KU in there as well. And just on the fringe is Arizona. That's how good this league is. It's top heavy. But I think the middle portion is pretty good too. That's the thing. The middle portion is pretty good too. So we'll see. Ton of basketball left, man. Ton of basketball left. I'm excited about it. I appreciate everybody diving in to these comment section. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. We're going to keep getting into basketball, man. I love it. I love it. It's here. I want us to have the best conference in the country. Now we just got to go out there and prove it, man. So I appreciate you guys. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.